y'all, so it is morning. That's why I'm behind the camera. Still got my PJs on, got my coffee, but I'm working on our supper for tonight. And I've just been craving like a traditional Southern dinner: pintos, cornbread, homemade mac and cheese, some collard greens. So I'm working on my pintos right now. I've already rinsed a pound of pinto beans to make sure there's no rocks or anything. Sometimes you will get like some rocks in there. Sometimes they'll be kind of dirty, or you might just have some weird pintos. So I just picked those out, rinsed them off really good. I added in almost a whole onion. It was a really big onion, so I didn't quite use the whole thing. But then this is the kind of strange part. So normally I add some fat back to my pintos and some seasoning, and that's it. I don't even put the onion in there. Well, I don't have any fat back. I don't even have any bacon, any country ham, but I do have some prosciutto. So I'm gonna take a chance here and try this. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll still add that saltiness and a little bit of flavor in there. I've never tried this before in pintos is what I mean, but we're gonna give it a shot. So if this works, if you're seeing this, then it probably wasn't a huge fail. So I'm gonna chop up some of that, also add that in there, and then I'll add our seasonings. And this is gonna pretty much cook all day, and it's hopefully gonna be delicious. All right, so I have my beans in there, my onion, my prosciutto. I have to say, that looks pretty delicious. It's gonna have a lot of flavor, we know that. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and add my seasonings. This time I'm gonna add some chili powder. I don't have a whole lot left, so I might add about all that's in there, probably about a tablespoon, maybe not quite a tablespoon. And then I'm probably gonna add some of this nature seasons. I don't have a lot of it in there as well, so I'll probably add teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. And then I'm just gonna cover this with water almost till my crock pot is full. And pretty much supper will be on its way. All right, y'all, so my beans have been cooking on high for about 8 hours, and they are perfect. I think that prosciutto did just fine. And we've already been sampling them over here, Hayden and I, and they are really, really good. I think they're delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my cornbread in the oven, and we will be ready to eat. So I've shared before, this is the cornmeal mix that I generally buy. I buy this kind or the buttermilk version, and they're both really good, super easy. I love buttermilk cornbread. However, I generally do not keep buttermilk on hand or purchase it very often. But a little trick you can do, if you have regular milk, which most of us usually do, you just put a tablespoon, a splash of white vinegar in it, and you've got buttermilk. It's that easy. So that's what I'm getting ready to do now. Like I said, about a tablespoon or so. I'm just gonna do a little splash. Stir that up, let that sit while I'm getting everything out. Mix up my cornbread, and I'll put it in the oven. I already have my iron skillet in here heating up. It's gonna be good. So I just follow the directions on the back of my cornbread mix. You just add a little bit of oil and the egg and milk. You just mix that up, and that's all you do. So I like to go ahead and put my iron skillet in the oven and get it nice and hot. And then I'll take just a little bit more oil, a tiny bit is all you need, and just drizzle that in the bottom of my iron skillet. And that just creates a really, really nice golden crispy crust on top of your cornbread. Alrighty, I've got my cornbread, my pintos. So pintos and cornbread are what's for dinner. Hey y'all, so tonight for dinner, I thought I would finally share my mama's lasagna recipe. I mentioned a while back, I don't know, it was some holiday, maybe Father's Day I think, that she made a homemade lasagna, and I asked if you guys would be interested in seeing that recipe. So I'm finally getting around to making it again, so that's what we're doing for dinner tonight. I hope I didn't scare y'all. It's a no makeup day. I've been cleaning the last 2 days, so a nice homemade lasagna just sounds so good for dinner. So even though this is homemade, it's more like homemade put together. You can make your own sauce if you choose. That's kind of the most homemade element in it, but I'm not. I'm using jarred sauce, so feel free to use whatever sauce you prefer, whether it's homemade, jarred, whatever you want to use. But this is a really yummy recipe. There might be a couple different things in there than you're used to using. However, let me know down in the comments below if you make your lasagna similar to this or how you do make your own lasagna. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right, y'all, so I thought I would show you the ingredients really quick. Super simple. So I'll start over here. You can use either a pound of Italian sausage or ground beef. My mama actually uses ground beef and hers was delicious, but I don't know, I thought I'd use Italian sausage. So that's what we're going with tonight. Like I said, you can use any type of sauce you prefer. I might try homemade later, but not tonight. So I'm just using 2 jars of the Prego Traditional, also because that's what my mama used. You're gonna need 6 cups of whatever sauce. So also you're gonna need some cottage cheese. You can do cottage cheese or ricotta. I love ricotta, but like I said, mama used cottage cheese, so that's what we're gonna use. Hers did not turn out bad at all. I loved it. So you also need some mozzarella cheese, shredded mozzarella cheese, and then some shredded Parmesan cheese. Next, you will need some oven-ready lasagna. I meant to get the wavy kind. I've never gotten the flat kind. That's what I picked up this time. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then just some parsley flakes just to kind of put on top. So let's go ahead and get this all put together. Also, you will need 2 eggs. Forgot to get those out in the beginning. So I'm just going to start by browning my Italian sausage, and when that is nice and brown, we'll add in the rest of the ingredients. To a separate bowl, I'm going to add in 15 ounces of ricotta or cottage cheese, which I'm using today. We're also going to go ahead and add a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, 2 cups of mozzarella cheese, and 2 eggs lightly beaten. We're just going to go ahead and stir all that up together and set it to the side. So now we're just going to start assembling our lasagna. I'm just going to start with a little bit of sauce on the bottom of the pan, and then I'll do the noodles and then the cheese mixture. And I like to end with just a little bit of sauce on top just to make sure all those noodles, especially since they're the no cook kind, the no before cook kind, that all of them are nice and moist. Sorry if you hate that word, but that way they're all getting done. So just end with a little bit of sauce on top. Once it's all assembled, I'm going to cover it with some aluminum foil, and I'm going to bake this at 350 for about 50 minutes. And then I'm going to come back, add a little bit more mozzarella cheese, and let that bake another 5 or 10 minutes just until that cheese is melted. Alrighty, y'all. So you want to let the lasagna sit for at least 5 or 10 minutes. I just go ahead and make our salads and our garlic bread just to kind of let everything settle because you have so much sauce. But it's all done. Looks delicious, all creamy and saucy. Like I said, got some salad and garlic bread to go alongside, and that is what's for dinner. Okay, so right now I'm attempting to make some homemade dinner yeast rolls. Never made these before, was not sure how they would turn out. So I'm just adding some water to my little Pyrex mixing bowl right here. I'm going to heat that up along with some milk, honey, and a little bit of melted butter. And as always, I will have the actual recipe linked down below if you want to try it. But the recipe says you're just supposed to heat up the milk a little bit at a time. You want it to be super warm, but not hot. So I just did the best I could with those directions. Next, I added the milk mixture to my KitchenAid mixer, and I'm just using the dough hook today. Then I took a little over a packet of quick rise or quick whatever it is yeast. Just sprinkle that on top, and you let that sit for a few minutes until the yeast starts to look really foamy. And then next you will add the rest of the ingredients. I believe it was 3.5 cups of flour, and then just 1 teaspoon of salt, and that's it. So I just let that mix for a little bit until it was all combined. And this recipe said if it was too sticky, if it was sticking to the sides, to add in a little bit more flour. I think it said by the 1/4 of a cup. So I did end up doing that, and I think it turned out okay. They were edible and we liked them, but I didn't love them. So I actually ended up throwing them all in the trash after we were done eating. My family probably still would have ate them, but I don't know, if it's not perfect, I'm weird like that and I don't want them to. Anyway, so after all the dough is mixed up, you actually cover it with a damp paper towel and you let it rise for about 15 minutes. And then I just started rolling out the rolls into about this size that I'm showing you here. I had to use 2 pans because all of my 9x13s were dirty. Once they're all rolled out, I'm going to cover them again with a damp paper towel, let them rise another 15 minutes, and then you also bake it 15 minutes on 400. And then once they're done, you will top them with some melted butter. And like I said, they weren't terrible, but I think I need a little bit more practice. Okay, next I'm starting on some rub for some pork chops. I'm just adding in some brown sugar, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some chili powder, and then salt and pepper. And I was actually going to try these in the air fryer. I had not tried those, and I'd heard they turn out really good. So once I got that all mixed up, I just rubbed those all over some pork chops. And I did those at 400 degrees in my air fryer for about 12 minutes, and I flipped them halfway through. I think they did turn out really good. Super, super easy. A lot easier than having to go out and heat up the grill anytime you want pork chops. So I'll probably definitely make these again. Alright y'all, so for dinner tonight, we have the air fried pork chops. We have the zucchini fries, we have some crockpot mac and cheese, which the recipe for that is coming soon, and then the homemade dinner yeast rolls. So that's what's for dinner tonight. Okay, so next we're going to start on some homemade Cheddar Bay Biscuits. If you've ever been to Red Lobster, these are what they're similar to. They're so delicious. We were having some friends over for a low country boil this night, so I thought that would be a really good thing to have with that. So I just added in some butter that I melted in the microwave, added in flour, some garlic powder. Again, all these recipes will be linked for you. Added in some baking powder and just mixed that up all together. Then I added some milk to my butter, and then I just poured my wet ingredients into my dry and mixed those all together. Once I had all my flour and butter and milk mixed up, I went ahead and added in some cheese. I was using the bag shredded kind this time, and it worked out fine. You just want to fold in your cheese. Make sure you're not over mixing your biscuit dough, because if you do over mix, your biscuits will come out really dense. So we did not want that. So I just folded in the cheese, and then I will just scoop them out with my ice cream scoop and bake them in the oven. And when they come out, I like to just rub them down with a little bit more melted butter. Oh, and I did add some parsley flakes to the melted butter as well, but of course that is totally optional. If you've never heard of Low Country Boil, basically it's shrimp, sausage, corn, potatoes, and then of course we had crab legs to go with that. Also, our friends brought some extra yummy things, so it was really good, and it was a really fun time just all standing around our kitchen island and just basically having a feast. So I did end up with quite a bit of extra crab meat left over from the crab legs, so I thought I would turn those into crab cakes. So that's what I'm doing now. I just had some green onion finely chopped in my bowl. I had a little less than 1 pound of crab meat. I had some lump and some claw. Added in some breadcrumbs, some mayonnaise, a beaten egg. Added in some Old Bay seasoning, and then just a few splashes of Worcestershire sauce, and then a tiny bit of hot sauce. And these did come out pretty spicy, but of course it was just Darren and I eating them, and we thought they turned out delicious. Once they were all mixed up, I just kind of folded them out into little patties. I was kind of showing the size right here. You can pretty much do them whatever size that you want. And then I just set them to the side until I was ready to fry them up in the pan. And next I'm making some roasted asparagus to go along with that. I just drizzle mine with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder. You can pretty much put anything you want on them, but I just bake them or roast them at 425 for about 10 minutes. Okay, to fry up my crab cakes, I just added about a tablespoon of oil to my pan. I'm just using canola oil. You could use canola, vegetable, but you don't need a lot at all. And then I went ahead and placed my crab cakes in the pan, and you just cook those on both sides for about 4 or 5 minutes each, just until they are nice and golden brown on both sides. And then to go along with my crab cakes, I happen to love tartar sauce, and I'm the only one who will eat it in our family besides Hayden, depending on her mood. So basically all you need to make that is some mayonnaise, some dill relish, and I like to add a little bit of salt and pepper and garlic powder to mine. You can do it to taste, and it turns out perfect, way better than any kind you can buy in a bottle. Alrighty y'all, so we have the crab cakes for dinner tonight. Some roasted asparagus. I just did some Uncle Ben's rice pilaf really quick in the microwave for another side. A leftover Cheddar Bay biscuit and the homemade tartar sauce. So this is what's for dinner tonight. And let me just say, this will wrap up this week's What's for Dinner. I'll link or type out any recipes that I shared below. I hope you guys will subscribe. I share these What's for Dinner recipes fairly often. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye y'all.